BBC Radio Stoke has seen a private letter which shows that in a worst-case scenario, Stoke-on-Trent City Council predicts it will have to borrow the full £40 million cost of its new headquarters in the new central business district, with interest adding an extra £1.7 million every year for 25 years. The council, though, is hoping to offset the costs by selling redundant buildings that it's moving out of in Stoke town centre. Peter Bates is Assistant Director of Financial Services at the City Council and joins us from the Civic Centre this morning. Good morning.
Morning, Stuart.
So what is the exact total cost of this move likely to be?
I think we've said it many times, it's going to be very, very difficult to give you the exact figure until the contracts have been let, and we've evaluated the prospective tenderers so we know exactly how much it's going to cost to build the buildings in the first place before we get any consideration of regarding to how it's going to be financed.
People listening to this who pay their council tax might think it's a little odd that you'd embark on such a big project when you don't know how much it's going to cost.
Well, I mean the reassurance I can give to obviously see your listeners, it's the same as the Building Skills for the Future programme, where it's a £250 million programme, and we've managed to deliver 2/3 of that programme to time and to budget. And we've done exactly the same with regards to the cost of the bus station, although it was slightly later than we'd originally planned. So our estimate of the circa £40 million that I think you've been quoted in that letter is broadly what we think it will cost to facilitate the building of those two buildings in Hanley.
Given that, then, what's the worst case scenario if that were played out?
I mean, it's very difficult to explain the complexities of treasury management to your listeners, but I think most people would probably relate a loan to a mortgage for a particular property. What my responsibility is as lead advisor to the council from a financial perspective is to effectively resource every single part of our capital programme. So I will be making a decision on financing individual, I won't be making a decision to finance individual assets, I will be financing the whole of the capital programme. So in terms of the worst case scenario, if we were failed to rationalise our asset management strategy to make sure that we sell a lot of surplus buildings, then eventually we would have to borrow money to facilitate those capital investment programme.
How much?
Well, in terms of the situation with the business district, if we fail to sell any of the buildings, which is highly unlikely, then it would be £40 million with regards to a loan.
Plus the interest that you would pay on that loan?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Plus the cost of maintaining the empty buildings?
Yeah, but, to be fair, we haven't taken a loan out since January 2008, with the exception of buying ourselves out of the National Housing Subsidy System. We've just financed the bus station in Hanley, which was, as you know, a £15 million programme where we didn't borrow any money at all. So we will do our damnedest to make sure that the value for money for the taxpayers of the city is maximised, and that's what my responsibility as lead financial advisor for the city will be.
Normally when you buy a house, you have to put a deposit down. Are you doing that here, and how much will it be? No,
it's like I say, it's slightly different to explain. We again, I will not decide even now what the length of the term that will be. I think 25 years has been quoted in the letter that you've received. I will take out a series of loans across a different set of terms, whether that's 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, or 35 years, or 40 years. It will be dependent on the terms and conditions when I go to the market to borrow money for the City Council.
Going to the market's an interesting phrase that those of us who don't do business in the way that you are won't really understand. Where can you borrow money from then as a council?
Well, we can borrow it from a lot of sources, but the vast majority, if not all our borrowing, will be through the Public Works Loans Board, which is effectively borrowing from central government.
Do you know what value the buildings will have once they've been built?
Again, that will be predicated on many factors in terms of the continuing regeneration of Hanley. We are very, very confident that the building's worth once built will be significantly higher than the actual cost of building those buildings in the first place.
And given that part of the way that the cost of the central business district will be offset is by selling buildings that you'll leave behind, namely the one you're in at the moment at the Civic Centre, is it true that you're looking to heavily discount your old buildings to try and get rid of them?
I mean, again, we'll take many things into consideration. I certainly aren't going to have a fire sale of Stoke-on-Trent City Council assets and just sell them just for the sake of selling them. We are a big organisation that can deal with managing our cash flow quite effectively, something that we've done even in the most difficult times of austerity over the last couple of years. We are financially reasonably sound, given the challenges that we've got. So we will take a very measured review and we will try and obviously get the best price for our surplus assets. But the big saving is to do with the rationalisation of getting all those key individuals in one location in Hanley, which will bring about a lot of other economies from the operation of the City Council's business, as well as the fact that it will be cheaper for us to operate from those buildings.
I understand that the point of moving people is to try and kickstart the central business district. Is there a chance ultimately, and is this one of your aims, the council could make a profit on this deal?
I certainly haven't ruled that out. I mean, to be fair, a lot of the considerations and planning that went into the prospect of us actually just becoming a tenant, i.e. not actually taking the costs of building the building, but actually just renting it, if you like, for making a commitment for 20-25 years as a tenant. That's something that I'd strongly advise the council against. I think by holding the asset itself and actually owning the asset, that gives us a far stronger financial position in the future. And we have to be successful. The city centre has to improve its economic performance, and obviously if it does, then effectively the investment that we've made will not only benefit the jobs creation for the city, but it will benefit the value of the assets that we hold in the city centre.
It's good to hear this morning that you're confident that you won't have to face the worst case scenario on this, where all the buildings are left empty. When are we likely to hear that one of the buildings has been sold to a private enterprise?
Again, obviously you know that there's been a lot of interest, particularly in the properties in Stoke. We will, at the appropriate time, make sure that goes public. You have probably seen the district auditor's letter that we received last month, and we are committed, and certainly our elected members are committed to be open and transparent with regards to, as soon as possible, when that information can be shared with the public domain, we will share it, and we will continue to share that progress throughout the next 2 years of the build of the programme.
Thanks very much for talking to us this morning, Peter Bates from Stoke-on-Trent City Council, with the latest on the Central Business District. 13